By combining these two factors, financial institutions and other organizations might be able to acquire a closed-loop system that is more efficient, less expensive, and more secure than the one they currently use. Additionally, real-world assets are starting to be tokenized on the XRP distributed ledger system. To give you an example, property title deeds are now distributed directly on XRPL in Dubai. This is a significant proof of concept for the application of blockchain technology in the real estate industry, which is one of the most paper-based and slowest companies in the world. XRP, not Ethereum or Bitcoin, is the platform on which this is going place. Tokenization of commercial paper, which is comparable to short-term corporate debt, is also taking place on XRPL with the assistance of large treasury services and investment businesses. It's possible that we'll use this in the future, but it's not. This has already begun to take place. That the true value lies in the fact that all of that usefulness is what ultimately drives it. We are no longer merely speculating about the cost of the item. Based on actual use, rather than merely discussion, these are the things that will help XRP become one of the top 3 assets by market cap according to market capitalization. Ripple is also receiving increased assistance from regulatory bodies. The United States of America's banks and other institutions will be allowed to maintain and use XRP without any issues once the law around it has been clarified. XRP swings from being a cryptocurrency initiative to becoming an essential component of the monetary system when you take into account the possibility of a state bank charter that is designated for a specific purpose. Imagine what will take place when the utility phase actually begins and XRPL is utilized for global payments, institutional liquidity, and the movement of tokenized value worth trillions of dollars. What will happen then? This is a wonderful example of a bridge asset that banks should keep in order to decrease risk. XRP is a great example. The holding of liquid assets of a higher grade is required of banks by these laws. This path involves more than simply an idea. The data kept by the State Bank of India make it quite evident that fintech businesses such as Ripple are making a mad dash to obtain these charters in the United States. Circle and Wise are also included in the competition. Nevertheless, XRP stands out due to the fact that it is not merely a stablecoin play, because it is also a hybrid, a bridge currency, and a liquidity asset. It provides banks with the opportunity to obtain both speed and independence at the same time. However, there is a catch. Through a master account at the Federal Reserve, XRP might be stored in savings at the Federal Reserve in the event that Ripple transforms into Ripple Bank. If I may put it another way, when financial institutions utilize XRP to settle transactions or convert foreign currency, they are utilizing infrastructure that is comparable to that of the central bank. USDC, which is issued by Circle, is the only other cryptocurrency that has the potential to have that kind of regulatory standing. On the other hand, Circle is not a flexible bridge asset. Rather, it is a stablecoin. Also, there is a political breeze blowing in this direction. There are already indications that the government will pursue banks that have been shutting down cryptocurrency startups. There are even measures to sanction and fine individuals who behave in an unjust manner toward enterprises that deal in digital assets. This has the potential to make it possible for Ripple and other companies to have their charters accepted much more quickly than anyone had previously believed was conceivable. Now is the time to discuss numbers, because this is the point at which things will really surprise you. At a price of $3.19 per XRP, the following is a list of the many coins that you would receive from various trades today. 2 different amounts of XRP can be obtained. $156.74 for $500 and $313.48 for $1,000. Permit me to take a look at the potential value of such quantities in the event that specific price targets are achieved for XRP. At the price of $100 per XRP, a purchase of $500 would result in a profit of $1,574. At the price of $500 per XRP, it would bring in $78,370. At the price of $1,000 per XRP, it would bring in $156.40. At the price of $5,000 per XRP, it would bring in $783,700. And at the price of $10,000 per XRP, it would cause a profit of $567,400. $300 worth of XRP is priced at $303.48. $500 worth of XRP is priced at $156.40. $1,000 worth of XRP is priced at $333.20. And $5,000 worth of XRP is priced at $156,704. You can see how even a modest account today might grow into a massive amount that alters your life if XRP hits even a small percentage of those all-time highs. This is because when you compare $10,000 per XRP to $3,100 and $134,800, you can better see how this could happen. Now, before you respond with, but that's years away. Let's try to make sense of what's taken place. They have already begun using their own stablecoin, which is called RLUSD, and it is currently transferring billions of dollars every single day. As time goes on, it is possible that RLUSD may be utilized as a form of cash money, while XRP will be utilized as a bridge asset. By combining these two factors, financial institutions and other organizations might be able to acquire a closed-loop system that is more efficient, less expensive, and more secure than the one they currently use. Additionally, real-world assets are starting to be tokenized on the XRP distributed ledger system. To give you an example, property title deeds are now distributed directly on XRPL in Dubai. This is a significant proof of concept for the application of blockchain technology in the real estate industry, which is one of the most paper-based and slowest companies in the world. XRP, not Ethereum or Bitcoin, is the platform on which this is going place. Tokenization of commercial paper, which is comparable to short-term corporate debt, is also taking place on XRPL with the assistance of large treasury services and investment businesses. It's possible that we'll use this in the future, but it's not. This has already begun to take place. That the true value lies in the fact that all of that usefulness is what ultimately drives it. We are no longer merely speculating about the cost of the item. Based on actual use rather than merely discussion, these are the things that will help XRP become one of the top 3 assets by market cap according to market capitalization. Ripple is also receiving increased assistance from regulatory bodies. The United States of America's banks and other institutions will be allowed to maintain and use XRP without any issues once the law around it has been clarified. When you take into account the prospect of a state bank charter with a specified purpose, XRP transforms from a cryptocurrency initiative into a significant component of the whole financial system. Consider the events that will take place once the service phase begins to function properly. As a result of the movement of tokenized assets worth trillions of dollars through XRPL, global settlements and institutional liquidity are all processed through it. Therefore, $100 worth of XRP is not the best option. In that location is the line for the subsequent leg up. The other significant event that you should keep an eye on is Basel III, which has new regulations for international banks. This is a wonderful example of a bridge asset that banks should keep in order to decrease risk. XRP is a great example. The holding of liquid assets of a higher grade is required of banks by these laws. XRP might be kept on the balance sheets of financial institutions and used for transactions involving foreign exchange. By doing so, they would be able to satisfy the regulatory liquidity requirements while simultaneously reducing costs and accelerating settlements. In the actual world, this indicates that a bank in the United States may store XRP, immediately convert it into any currency it requires, and finish the transaction in a matter of seconds, all without having to make use of the traditional SWIFT network. It is more beneficial to the company's bottom line while also adhering to the regulation. When a few major banks demonstrate that this strategy is successful on a wide scale, it will swiftly spread to other financial institutions. Moreover, firms who do not take prompt action will lose customers to competitors who are able to complete the task more rapidly and at a lower cost. The fact that some financial institutions use XRP does not necessarily guarantee that the price will shift. It has just the right amount of the major names to establish a new benchmark. Moreover, you should be aware that the value of XRP increases each time it is utilized. A significant amount of commercial use might put a significant amount of pressure on the price of the tokens, given that there are only 100 billion tokens accessible and the most of them are locked up. It's incredible that the majority of people are still unaware that this is taking place. The information will not be communicated to them until after the major events have taken place. Due to this reason, it is essential to arrive early. It is still early for us as well. The combination of all of these factors, direct access to the Federal Reserve through a bank charter, tokenization of real-world assets, Basel threat alignment, and unambiguous legislation language, makes it impossible to consider the possibility of a hypothetical situation. Currently, you are observing it is possible that the figures we ran previously will appear to be overly low when that time comes. At this point, it becomes even more intriguing. Now that we have that out of the way, let's take a closer look at what will take place after Ripple receives the National Bank Charter for special purposes. The potential for this to rapidly increase credibility with other authorities and financial partners is a characteristic that does not receive sufficient attention. There are still some businesses who are being cautious with cryptocurrency at the moment since they are waiting for approval from major regulatory agencies. Becoming a registered bank is the end result of this benefit. In doing so, we communicate to the market that we are no longer a little player. Rather, we are now a component of the system. Ripple's partnerships with commercial enterprises other than banks could be accelerated as a result of this alone. Consider the fact that not just insurance firms, but also large enterprises and even governments are looking to modernize their payment systems. Additionally, the addition of each new user to the network has the potential to result in additional XRP settlements. XRP is also distinctive due to the fact that it may be utilized in a wide variety of contexts. To differentiate itself from the majority of cryptocurrencies, XRP has the potential to function as both a bridge asset and a payment currency inside its ecosystem. Because it is capable of performing two functions, financial institutions can use it to acquire foreign currency immediately, and businesses can use it to perform routine financial operations. It is time to have another conversation on Basel III. As a result of the push for better liquid assets, financial institutions will be seeking for instruments that not only satisfy their requirements for liquidity, but also have the capability to be utilized around the clock, 7 days a week, and across international borders. One of the many reasons why XRP is so beneficial is that it is not dependent on the monetary policy of any particular nation. It settles instantaneously, and it may be utilized with any kind of cryptocurrency or fiat asset. Compared to paper currencies, this is an advantage that just cannot be matched. Take a look at this scenario that might take place. In order to settle transactions that take place across international borders, a worldwide bank is using XRP. When they include it on their balance sheet, they are able to avoid incurring foreign exchange fees that amount to millions of dollars annually. Their bottom line improves as a result of that operational improvement, which in turn encourages competitors to want to enhance their operations as well. By the end of the next 3 years, every single one of the largest banks in the world will be using XRP. Because of this, a liquidity pool will be created that is so large that even large commercial and government transactions will be able to be finalized immediately. Moreover, the market will be able to observe this. The moment volume data demonstrates that actual institutional money is moving through XRP, people will come to a different conclusion about the cryptocurrency. Small investors will hurry to get in on the action, which will drive the price even higher. The same experts and commentators who wrote off XRP years ago will begin upping their price targets, which will cause the price to rise even further. I keep stating that the greatest way to generate money is to get ready before the doors open, and this is the reason why I keep saying it. When it reaches its full potential and billions of dollars begin to flow through it, the market will no longer price XRP as if it were a speculative coin. It is going to be acknowledged as the asset for global settlement that it was always intended to be. Let us put our ideas to the test right away. Let's pretend the year is 2030. XRP is used to clear transactions for hundreds of institutions, while XRPL is used to tokenize real-world assets that are worth trillions of dollars. Ripple Bank is also included in this list. If XRP were to receive only a little portion of the daily global FX volume, let's say 1% of the $7 trillion that are traded every day, that would still amount to $7 billion in trades each and every day. If you take into account trade finance, business treasury, and tokenized asset settlements, it is possible that a significant amount of money is passing via XRP every 24 hours. In the event that supply remains unchanged and demand increases, the amount of flow might lead prices to skyrocket to an all-time high. Also keep in mind that this does not even take into consideration the adoption that occurs in stores. An increasing number of individuals will be interested in learning more about XRP as they become aware that it is not merely another cryptocurrency, but rather an essential component of the global banking system. In addition, the additional demand just serves to drive up costs even further. XRP worth $100, $500, or even $1,000 or more is not something I consider to be a crazy moonshot. Rather, I consider it to be a long-term goal that is possible if the conditions are perfect. The potential profits on even relatively modest investments are mind-boggling when you take those values into consideration and go through the calculations once again. Because of this, there are proprietors who are discreetly accumulating their wealth at the present moment and storing it away for the long term, sometimes even for their children or grandkids. Mainly due to the fact that you do not need to trade it every day or make sure that every action is timed according to the suitable parameters. If the hypothesis is correct, then the mere act of carrying a little bag could be sufficient to make a family wealthy for many generations to come. When the sale begins, however, you won't be the last person in line to purchase something at $50 or $75 on the spot.